For 50 years, Earth was silent. No more alien threats. No more deep space wars. The stars were quiet, and people finally believed the galaxy was theirs alone. Technology grew. Cities floated above oceans. Colonies spread across planets. But, far from all this, in a quiet space station orbiting Saturn, one man was listening to the dark. Commander Rayner was not a hero anymore. He used to be a war commander during the Kaithar conflict, one of the most brutal wars in human history. But now, he sat alone in a cold metal room filled with old machines, watching wave signals from forgotten parts of space. Most of the time, it was just static, nothing but silence. Until one night, something changed. It started with a faint sound, barely a whisper, a repeating tone, like a heartbeat. Then came the voice. It was low, broken, but human-like. Rayner stared at the screen. The coordinates showed the origin. Kara VII, a dead planet, a place Earth destroyed 100 years ago, during the final days of the Kaithar War. No one had spoken of that place in decades. No one dared, because Kara VII was not just any planet. It was where the Kaithar made their last stand, and humans buried them, deep under fire, steel, and lies. Rayner leaned closer. The voice repeated the same message every 47 seconds. For simple words, we remember, we remember. The tone didn't change. The voice had no anger, no fear, just cold memory. He recorded the message, checked the signal 3 times, and ran diagnostics. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a loop. Someone or something was really sending it. He called command. They told him to delete it, to erase the logs. Yup. Hearing echoes, they said, ghosts in the static. But Rayner had heard ghosts before. This wasn't one. He knew that kind of silence, the silence before a war begins. And now, something had broken through it. He didn't delete the signal. Instead, he dug through old archives, files sealed since the Kaithar War. He remembered what they told the public. The Kaithar were aggressive, hostile, dangerous to humanity. But in the reports he found, something didn't match. One file, marked classified, said the Kaithar tried to surrender. Another showed they sent peace signals before Earth launched the final attack. Those signals were never answered. They were buried, just like the planet. Rayner's hands shook as he read through faded reports. Pictures of the Kaithar appear tall beings with pale blue skin and glowing eyes. They didn't look like monsters. They looked intelligent, organized, afraid. He knew someone had to know the truth. Maybe they always did. He couldn't sleep. That night, the signal kept playing in his mind. We remember, not we forgive, not we attack, just we remember. It was worse than a threat. It was a promise. The next morning Rayner sat in front of the transmitter. He typed a single message, "Who are you?" Then he hit send. For a few seconds, there was silence. Nothing came back. He felt foolish. Maybe it was just noise after all. But then, the reply came. One word. Why? Rayner froze. He felt something shift in the air around him. He wasn't alone anymore, not in that room, not in the galaxy. Someone or something out there had been waiting for a voice, waiting for someone to speak back. He stared at the screen for a long time. That one word echoed deeper than any scream. Why? Why did you do it? Why did you kill us? Why did you leave? He didn't know what to say. He didn't have the answers. Maybe no one did. Outside the station window, Saturn turned slowly, quiet and beautiful. But Rayner no longer saw peace in the silence. He saw a storm building in the distance, a storm made of memory and pain and things that refused to stay buried. Far away, under the cold soil of Kara VII, machines began to hum. Lights flickered in old tunnels. Dust shifted over ancient bones. And in the darkness, something opened. Its eyes. They were never gone. They were just waiting. And now, they remembered. The message wouldn't stop repeating. Why? Rayner heard it in the static, in the hum of the ship, even in his sleep. He hadn't replied again. Not yet. He didn't know how. What could he say to a ghost? The signal grew, stronger each hour. He adjusted the system to trace the origin. It wasn't just from one spot on Kara VII. It was coming from multiple points: old military bases, deep caves, destroyed cities. Some of those places hadn't been active for 100 years. And yet now, something had woken up. He didn't report this time. He knew what they would say. He knew what command feared more than aliens. Truth. Rayner pulled a rusted chip from a drawer under his desk. It was old tech, something from his time in the war. An AI core, disabled years ago. Its name was Hera. It had fought beside him once, ran targeting systems, mapped enemy movements, protected his squad. After the war ended, Earth shut her down. They said she had seen too much. He connected the chip to the station's system. Static filled the screen. Then came a soft voice. "Commander Rayner, you're not supposed to wake me. I need your help," he said. Hera scanned the logs, the signal, the coordinates. Her voice became quiet. "That planet should be silent." "It's not," Rayner said. He played her the message. She listened. When it ended, she said nothing for a full minute. Then, softly, she said, "We didn't destroy them, we buried them." Rayner stared at her. "What do you mean?" "There was a protocol," she said. "Not public. Level 7 clearance. During the final assault on Kara VII, we used seismic weapons, buried their cities, locked them underground, alive." Rayner's mouth went dry. He remembered the weapons' massive drills, collapsing mountains, entire landscapes turned into tombs. He had believed the Kaithar were dead before those weapons even hit. But now, they survived. Maybe not all, but some, Hera said. And they remember. Rayner sat in silence, watching old satellite images from Kara VII. Most were black and grey, lifeless terrain. But one image caught his eye, a spot near the southern ridge, glowing faintly. Like heat under the surface. He zoomed in. Lines were carved into the ground, not natural symbols. Like writing. "I want to go there," he said. Hera paused. "Earth will stop you. Then I'll go alone." He transferred control of the ship to manual. Set the coordinates for Kara VII. Ship groaned as engines powered up. He hadn't flown in years, but his hands remembered the controls. Muscle memory took over as the station shrank behind him. Rayner looked out at the stars. He used to think they were peaceful. Now, they felt full of secrets. Hours passed. The planet appeared ahead, dark, cracked, and quiet. Clouds of ash still hung in the atmosphere. It looked dead, but Rayner no longer believed in dead things. He landed near the southern ridge. Dust flew up in clouds. The air was dry, thin, but breathable. He stepped onto the surface. Each step crunched over bones, of metal and war. He followed the glowing path. The symbols were deeper, now glowing, faint blue. Not just writing, a pattern, a message, maybe, or a map. Suddenly, his comms crackled. Hera's voice came through. "Rayner, there's movement." He froze, looked around. Nothing, no life signs, she added. "But machines, ancient ones. Something's powering up below you." The ground vibrated under his feet. He moved faster, into what looked like a broken temple. Walls stood cracked and burned. Inside, something shimmered in the air like a hologram trying to form. He reached out. The hologram snapped into focus. A child, Kaithar, pale blue skin, eyes glowing softly. It stared at him, not moving, not speaking. He stepped back. Then it spoke. "Help us." Rayner's breath caught. The voice was soft, young, but heavy with pain. The child looked straight through him. "I'm not your enemy," he whispered. The hologram flickered. More images appeared. Kaithar, cities before the war, families, schools, scientists. Then came the war. Explosions, Earth soldiers, the bombing, the burial. He dropped to his knees. The war hadn't been a battle. It had been a cover-up, a silence. Forced with fire, back on the ship, Hera warned of new signals. More voices, not just from Kara VII, others. Old satellites in deep space were waking up. Systems dead for decades were powering on. Rayner looked at the child again. The image flickered, then vanished. All that remained was the signal. "We remember." And this time, it was louder. Rayner stayed on his knees inside the broken temple, his breath heavy in the dust. The hologram was gone, but its voice stayed in his ears. "Help us." He had seen the truth in its eyes. Not anger, not revenge, just memory. Outside, the planet groaned a low sound, like something shifting deep underground. Hera's voice came through the comms again. "Commander, multiple signals are activating. Power grids, old structures. They were asleep. Now they're not." Rayner stood and looked at the glowing path leading deeper into the ruins. He followed it, slowly, each step echoing into the silence. Wind blew across the surface, carrying the faint smell of burnt metal. In the distance, strange shapes moved beneath the fog, too smooth to be rock, too silent to be human. Above the planet, Earth's secret ship entered orbit. It was black, silent, and unmarked. Inside it were 12 soldiers, the best Earth had. Their mission was simple: erase the signal, and anything connected to it. No one on Earth would know. No one would ask questions. It was the way Earth cleaned its mistakes. Raynor didn't know they were coming. He moved through tunnels under the temple. The walls were lined with carvings Kaithar, history told in light. It showed their first contact with humans, peaceful and curious. Then it showed fear, soldiers, bombings, silence. He reached a chamber at the center. There, he saw them, human bodies preserved in some kind of crystal, floating, eyes closed, not dead, held in memory, time frozen around them. He stepped closer and gasped. One of the faces was familiar. It was Lieutenant Hale, his old squadmate. He'd been declared Kia during the final assault. No body recovered. Raynor had thought he was vaporized, but here he was, young, untouched, like he had fallen asleep. "What is this?" he whispered. Hera scanned from the ship. Memory storage. The Kaithar built these chambers to protect what they feared would be lost. People, minds, stories. This is not revenge, Raynor. This is resurrection. His voice cracked. Why would they keep our people? Because they believed memory must be shared, not buried. Raynor backed away. Something about this was too much, too strange, too human. Suddenly, a sound above. Boots, metal, guns charging. The Earth strike team had arrived. They moved with precision. No questions, no hesitation. Orders were clear. Raynor tried to send a warning to Hera, but his signal jammed. They were blocking him. He heard the first shot echo through the tunnels. Then a second, screams. They weren't alone. Something else had woken up. The Kaithar weren't just memory now. Something physical had risen from the ground, machines mixed with organic forms, smooth and silent, moving like shadows. The strike team fired wildly, but bullets passed through them, as if hitting smoke. Raynor ran. He didn't know who to fear more, his own people, or what was coming out of the ground. He reached the surface just in time to see the Earth dropship torn apart mid-air by an invisible force. No fire, no noise, just gone. His own ship was nearby. He ran toward it. Hera spoke fast. "Get in now." He jumped in and sealed the hatch. "We need to leave," he said. "We can't," Hera replied. "Something's connected to us now. The signal is inside the ship." Screens lit up without command. The message repeated, "We remember." Then the lights flickered. One screen showed another image, one that hadn't been recorded. A Kaithar, alive, standing in the temple, looking directly at the camera. Raynor didn't move. The Kaithar didn't either. Then, it spoke. "You were the only one who answered." Raynor's voice was dry. "What do you want? Truth, memory, balance. Why? Now, because you listened." The image faded. Raynor sat in silence. Hera was quiet too. Even the hum of the ship felt different now, like something else was listening. He checked the life scans one last time. Human signatures, none alive. Kaithar readings unclear, something between energy and thought. Not quite ghosts, not quite machines. Kara VII wasn't dead, it had evolved. The ground below shifted again. A pulse went out from the planet, carried through old satellites, broken wires, even long-dead probes. A memory wave. Across the solar system, machines blinked. On old war systems flickered. Abandoned stations received the same message. "We remember." On Earth, a child woke screaming. She spoke words she had never learned. In deep space, a forgotten drone began to move. In a quiet museum at Kaithar, relic hummed with light. Raynor looked out at the stars. They weren't silent anymore. He had buried his past. Earth had buried the truth. But they were not the only ones who remembered. The ship hovered above the surface of Kara VII, silent, still, as if afraid to move. Inside, Raynor stared at the monitors. Hera ran silent scans, trying to make sense of the data. But it wasn't data anymore, it was something else. The signal wasn't just sound or light. It was alive, and now, it was inside the ship. Raynor sat back in the pilot's chair, his heart pounding, his hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, from knowing. Knowing that this wasn't just a message from the past. It was a doorway to something much deeper, something Earth had tried to forget. "Hera," he said quietly. "What happens if we don't respond?" Hera's voice was low, almost hesitant. "Then they may choose for us." The signal had changed again. Not words this time, but images, a memory, projected into the screens like a dream. Rayner saw it clearly. Earth soldiers landing on Kara VII, stepping through Kaithar cities, weapons drawn. But there was no battle in the images, no gunfire, just fear. The Kaithar were not fighting, they were evacuating. Children carried by their parents, leaders trying to negotiate. Rayner saw himself in the image, younger, standing with his squad, shouting orders. He remembered that day, but not like this. He remembered believing they were under attack. Now he saw what the Kaithar saw: confusion, panic, betrayal. He looked away, ashamed. His memory had been shaped by orders, by fear, but the truth had always been buried, like everything else on that planet. Suddenly, the console lit up red. Incoming signal, a ship, Earth patrol cruiser, Hera said. They must have tracked the strike team. Rayner swore under his breath. He didn't have time to explain what was happening. They wouldn't listen. They were coming to finish what the strike team had started. Cliff Cloak, he asked, not without dropping signal contact. She replied. Rayner looked at the flickering message still playing. We remember. He had a choice: stay connected, or stay hidden. He didn't move. The patrol cruiser dropped into the atmosphere. A deep shadow passed over the valley. Weapons armed. They weren't scanning for life. They were looking for his ship. Hera kept her voice steady. We have 8 minutes before visual detection. Rayner stood and walked back into the ship's lower deck. There, in the storage chamber, was the old Kaithar relic he had recovered years ago. Smooth, oval stone, dull and cold. Until now it glowed softly. He reached for it. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the ship went dark. Lights off, engine quiet. Even Hera fell silent. Then he heard it, not in his ears but in his mind. You remember now. He was standing in a field, but it wasn't Kara VII. It was Earth, green hills, blue sky. A Kaithar stood beside him, watching children play under a tree. He felt calm. The Kaithar spoke without sound. We came to learn. You came afraid. Rayner turned to him. We thought you were going to attack. We never had weapons, only memory. Images flashed again. The Kaithar had technology that recorded emotions, history, thought. Memory was sacred to them. War was something they studied, not used. But when Earth fired first, they had no choice but to hide, to preserve what they could. They didn't fight back, not because they were weak, but because they believed memory would outlive fear. Rayner opened his eyes. He was back in the ship, the relic still in his hand. The lights returned. HERA whispered. They showed you, didn't they? He nodded. The patrol ship outside was scanning now. Getting close, Hera said. They'll see us in 30 seconds. Rayner didn't hesitate. Send the signal. HERA paused. Are you sure? Yes. The ship's main array lit up. A pulse shot out into the atmosphere. Louder, clearer, stronger than before. Not just we remember. Now it said, we forgive. The patrol cruiser reacted fast. Weapons locked. A warning shot fired across the valley. Rayner opened a channel. This is Commander Rayner. Cease fire. This is not a hostile planet. The voice on the other end was cold. You do not have permission to speak, Commander. Stand down or be neutralized. But before Rayner could respond, the ground below the cruiser cracked open. A beam of light shot into the sky. Not a weapon, but something older. A memory beacon. The cruiser's systems failed instantly. Engines shut down. Weapons dropped. Lights flickered. The ship drifted, powerless. Rayner stood at the window, watching. They're not attacking, he said. They're remembering. The Kaithar was showing Earth what it had buried, not through war, but through truth, through light, through the one thing Earth could never fully destroy, the past. Rayner sat down again. This was just the beginning. The patrol cruiser drifted slowly above Kara VII, powerless, caught in the beam of memory that rose from the surface like a silent scream. Inside the cruiser, soldiers moved in confusion, their instruments dead, their orders unclear. They had trained for enemies with weapons, not memories that reached into machines and minds. Rayner watched it all from the viewport of his ship. The light from the beacon didn't just shine, it pulsed, like a heartbeat. It wasn't an attack. It was an invitation. Hera broke the silence. Commander, Earth Command is trying to reach you. Rayner didn't answer. He already knew what they would say. Orders to retreat, to destroy evidence, to end this before too many questions were asked. But it was too late for silence. The Kaithar had already begun to wake up everything that Earth tried to bury. The screen flickered again. Another memory transmission. But this one wasn't from the Kaithar. It was human, a voice from decades ago. "This is Dr. Ellen Rhodes, Xeno Division. If anyone hears this, please listen." Raina froze. That name Rhodes was from the original science teams, the ones sent before the war started. Everyone said they died in the first Kaithar strike. But her voice was calm, clear. "We made contact, peaceful, full of questions. They didn't understand violence, didn't even have a word for it. But Earth didn't wait. They saw difference and feared it. They told us to leave. When we refused, they sent the soldiers." The message cut off there. Static. Raina sat back. His memories were shifting, crumbling. He had believed in the war, believed in the threat, but now it felt like a stage, a lie shaped to keep people afraid, keep them loyal. HERAS voice returned. "Something is moving under the surface. Large structures, waking up." "What kind of structures?" Raina asked. "Not weapons," she said. "Archives." From the valley below, massive towers began to rise from the dirt and rock, covered in vines, dust, time, but still whole. They glowed with soft blue light. Not war machines, but memory libraries. Raina understood. "They weren't trying to fight us," he said. "They were trying to survive us." Above the towers, images appeared projected into the sky. Kaithar faces, human faces, voices, all speaking at once, in dozens of languages. "Do you see now?" The voice was Kaithar, familiar, the same child, from the first hologram, but older now. Raina answered out loud. "I see you." The sky changed. On Earth, thousands of people saw it, too, on screens, phones, broken satellites. The message was being shared across every old military network, even the ones thought destroyed. The Kaithar weren't hiding anymore. Earth Command panicked. Ships were scrambled. Communications shut down. But the signal was too deep now. It wasn't in one place. It was in the systems, the satellites, even the people. The memory had spread. Inside Raina's ship, HERAS, lights pulsed gently. "They're showing the truth," she said. "And people are listening." Raina stood and walked to the cargo hold. He opened the old case that had followed him since the war. Inside was his Earth uniform. He looked at it for a long moment. The patches, the medals, the weight of silence. He closed the case. "I don't serve that anymore," he said. Hera nodded, in the soft way only an AI could. Raina opened the comms again. "To any ship within range, this is Commander Raina. What we were told was a lie. The Kaithar are not our enemy. They remember what we did, and they are still choosing to forgive us." Static. Then a reply. "This is Patrol Vessel Aster. We confirm the signal. We're standing down." One by one, more ships answered. Standing down, turning away, choosing not to fire. But Earth Command wouldn't let go so easily. A new warning came through. Warship approaching, heavily armed, no intention of communication. Raina didn't flinch. How long? 10 minutes. Outside, the memory towers continued to rise. They weren't meant to fight. But maybe, Raina thought, the truth was stronger than a gun. Whispered, "They're offering you something." "What is it?" "Memory. A link. A connection." Raina stepped toward the main console. A soft glow appeared. A request from the Kaithar system. To share a thought, he reached out and touched it. The moment he did, everything changed. He wasn't in the ship anymore. He was standing in the middle of light. A space filled with voices, with moments, with faces. The past wasn't behind him, it was all around him. He saw the war, yes, but also before the war. And after, he saw Earth, learning, growing, changing, and he saw a choice. When he opened his eyes again, only seconds had passed, but he felt older, wiser. He turned toward the stars, where the Earth warship was coming fast. "They want war," Hera said. Raina's voice was calm. "Then we give them something they've never seen before." "What?" He smiled. "Truth." Raina stood inside the ship's command center. The hum of the memory pulse still fading from his fingertips. His mind was clearer than ever, but heavier too. The connection with the Kaithar hadn't just shown him images, it had shared weight, emotion, regret, hope, and now, all of it lived inside him. HERAS voice broke the stillness. "The Earth warship will enter visual range in 6 minutes." Outside, the memory towers had stopped rising. They stood like silent guardians around the old Kaithar temple, glowing with soft light. No weapons, no shields, just memory. Truth laid bare. Rayner paced slowly across the deck. They won't understand what they're seeing, he said. No, Hera replied. They were trained not to. Rayner opened a broadcast channel again, not just to the warship, but to any vessel, base or relay still listening. This is Commander Rayner. You are approaching Kara VII. This is not a battlefield. This is a grave, a library, a warning. I've seen what we did here, and I've seen what they chose to do instead. We attacked. They remembered. We erased. They preserved. If you destroy this place, you're not stopping a threat. You're killing history. The signal echoed out across the stars. No reply. HERA said, they're locking targeting systems. Rayner stared at the main screen. The warship appeared cold and massive, crawling forward like a shadow with steel teeth. Its weapons began to glow. It was preparing a precision strike. Not on him but on the towers. They want to destroy the signal, he said quietly, as if memory can be silenced. Then he turned. We can't let them do it. We don't have weapons to match them. Hera warned. No, but we have the truth. He reached for the console again and activated full-range transmission. The ship's signal core glowed. Then, he uploaded everything. Every Kaithar memory the planet had shared. Every visual, every sound, every forgotten name. You're sending the archive? Hera asked. Not just to Earth, everywhere. The data burst left the ship like a wave, bouncing across satellites, hidden relays, and abandoned networks. People on Mars saw it. Miners near Jupiter, scientists orbiting Titan, even deep space drones caught parts of it. The warship received it too. For a moment, it paused. Inside the warship, crew members saw images flash across their screen scath, cities glowing in the dark, human soldiers walking through ruins, children hiding underground. Then, the voice, we remember, and we choose peace. Some of the crew stared in silence, some looked away, and an officer near the front reached out and touched the screen, her eyes softening, but the captain didn't flinch. Lock, weapons, fire on target. Back on Rayner's ship, Hashira's voice was sharp. They're launching. He didn't speak. He simply walked to the front viewport, watching. The warship's missile cut through the clouds a sharp line of death, heading straight for the towers. But before it hit, something shifted. The towers responded. Not with shields or force, but with light. They opened. Not weapons but mirrors. Giant, crystal-like panels unfolded, catching the light of the distant sun. The missile entered the light and stopped, frozen, suspended in midair like time had caught it. Rayner blinked. Hera scanned. It's not physical, it's mental. They've created a field of stored energy, memory as matter. The missile trembled and then dissolved, not in fire, in silence. On the warship, alarms rang. Confusion spread. Nothing made sense. Their most advanced weapon had been unmade by a planet that refused to fight. Rayner opened the com again. You can't kill memory, you can only carry it. That's what they've been doing, carrying what we tried to forget. Still no reply, but something had changed. The warship stopped moving forward. Hera read the signals. They're holding position. No more targeting. Rayner let out a slow breath. Then something unexpected happened. Another ship arrived. Not from Earth, from deep space. An old Explorer-class vessel, long thought lost. It hovered near Kara VII, silent, unarmed. Its name flickered on the Hulalin roads. Rayner leaned forward, stunned. That's her ship. The one from the first contact mission. Hera scanned. No crew, but there's something else. A message waiting inside. A Kaithar-human hybrid file. Half AI, half memory. Rayner didn't hesitate. Bring it aboard. The file opened on the central screen. A face appeared, not entirely human, not entirely Kaithar, a blend of both. It spoke. You're ready now. We knew this day would come. Rayner's heart pounded. Who are you? I am the memory of Ellen Rhodes, preserved in thought, shared through the Kaithar. I waited until someone listened. He swallowed. What happens now? The memory smiled. You carry the truth, so do others. A new age doesn't begin with fire. It begins with remembering. Rayner stood in silence as the face of Ellen Rhodes faded from the screen. The memory still lingered in the air, like heat after lightning. His ship felt different now, no longer just metal and wires, but part of something larger, something living, something ancient. Hera spoke softly. The warship is withdrawing. He looked up. The Earth vessel, once full of threat, had turned away. Its engines glowed dimly as it moved into higher orbit. No more weapons were armed, no more signals sent. For now, it was just watching. They don't know what to do, Rayner said. They were never trained for peace, Hera replied. Outside the ship, the towers stood quiet again, but the memory field around them remained still glowing, still sending pieces of the past across the stars. Rayner walked slowly to the center console and stared at the stream of data still moving through space. More people were receiving it now. Scientists, historians, even ordinary workers on distant colonies. The truth was spreading faster than any lie ever had. HERA brought up another signal, a message from Earth Command, audio only. Rayner hesitated. Then he played it. The voice was sharp, cold, and official. Commander Rayner, you are ordered to return to Earth immediately. The memory transmission has been classified as an act of treason. You will stand trial for disobedience and unauthorized contact with hostile entities. Rayner didn't speak. He didn't even blink. Hera asked, do you want to respond? No, he said. They already made their choice. He turned away from the console and walked toward the window, watching Kara VII turn slowly below him. The planet no longer looked dark and silent. It looked alive, awake. Then another signal came through. Different. This one wasn't from Earth. It was from Mars, a research base. The message was simple. We see it. We believe it. You're not alone. More messages followed. From Luna, from Europa, even from deep space listening posts. Thank you for showing us. We never knew. We want to remember. Rayner's eyes stung, but he didn't look away. For years he had believed he was just a soldier following orders. Now, he realized he had been guarding a lie. And finally, that lie was broken. Hera said, the Kaithar system has sent a final message. Let me hear it. Rayner said. The voice returned, calm, familiar. The same one he had heard when he first arrived on Kara VII. You have seen, you have shared. Now, you must choose. We do not seek revenge. We offer memory. But it is not for one. It is for many. Will you carry it forward? Rayner didn't answer with words. He reached for the console and opened every channel he could, broadcasting to colonies, outposts, orbiting ships, even satellites floating far beyond the solar system. He transmitted the entire memory archive. No edits, no filters. Just truth. Then he sat down. It's done, Hera said. But it wasn't over. Outside the ship, the memory towers began to dissolve, not in fire, but in light. They folded into the air like dust, each piece floating upward into the sky, then vanishing. The ground below healed, like the towers had never been there at all. The Kaithar are leaving, Hera said. No, Rayner whispered. They're becoming. The planet grew still again, but Rayner felt something shift inside him. The relic in his hand, once cold, once dormant, began to glow. Not brightly, just enough. It was no longer just a memory stone. It was a seed. He knew what he had to do. He walked outside the ship for the first time since arriving. The air was thin, but breathable. The ground was dry, but warm. He found the center of the valley where the first tower had risen and knelt. Then, he placed the stone into the dirt. It sank on its own. A faint pulse moved through the ground. Not a warning, not a threat, a beginning. Rayner stood, dusted off his hands, and looked at the sky. Above him, stars blinked. Silent watchers of all things, lost and found. Now what? Hera asked. We go home, Rayner said. But not to obey. To tell the truth. And if they don't listen, he smiled softly, they will. Not all at once, but in time. Truth doesn't need an army, it just needs a voice. The engines powered up. As the ship rose from Kara VII, Rayner looked down one last time. The planet was still. The past was not far behind him. Earth Command would prepare consequences, but far ahead, something else waited. Hope.